Every day she organized books with the same calm routine, helped students with the same whispered tone, worked in the same peaceful silence. Sarah's university library was the campus's quietest sanctuary. Ancient books, hushed conversations, academic tranquility. Until that night when hackers attacked the university's entire digital infrastructure. And everyone learned that Sarah didn't just know how to use catalog systems, but how to handle much more sophisticated cyber warfare as well. Every story you're about to hear was earned, not given. Welcome to Earned Stories. Tell us in the comments which city you're watching from, and if you believe stories of invisible protectors like Sarah deserve to be told, don't forget to subscribe. Sarah Mitchell was 38 years old and had been head librarian at Stanford University main library for 8 years. Reference section, digital archives, student research assistants, thick-rimmed glasses, cardigans, hair always in a neat bun, classic academic librarian appearance. Every morning she was ready at 7 when the library opened, processing book returns, catalog updates, database maintenance. At 8, the first students would arrive. Sarah always had a warm smile, helpful guidance, whispered conversations. "Good morning, David," she'd say to regular students. "How's your thesis research going?" Sarah followed her students' academic journeys. Emma, computer science major struggling with algorithms. Alex, philosophy PhD defending his dissertation next month. Maria, pre-med cramming for organic chemistry finals. They weren't just library users, but her intellectual family. For 8 years, no complaints, always available, perfect student evaluations. Most helpful librarian ever reviews were common. Faculty saw Sarah as an institutional treasure. Dr. Peterson from computer science often joked, "Sarah knows our databases better than our IT department." The library was Sarah's domain, from the ancient literature section with its leather-bound manuscripts to the modern digital archives with quantum encryption protocols. She knew every corner. Students whispered conversations about upcoming exams, professors' research sessions on classified government projects, peaceful academic atmosphere that masked the complex digital infrastructure beneath. But no one questioned why Sarah had chosen librarianship on a deeper level. When asked about her background, she'd deflect. "I love helping people find information they need." Simple answer, much more complex truth. Sarah had a spare bedroom in her apartment near campus. Normal living space, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, vintage reading chair, academic journals scattered across a mahogany desk. But behind a false wall was a locked steel cabinet containing equipment that definitely didn't belong to Stanford University. Military-grade encryption devices, NSA security clearance badges, photographs of her receiving commendations from 3-star generals. 12 years ago, Sarah had lived in a world of digital shadows and electronic warfare. Senior Analyst Sarah Mitchell, NSA Cybersecurity Division, Fort Meade, Maryland. Government Network Protection, Foreign Cyber Threats, Classified Digital Warfare Operations against State-Sponsored Hackers. Sarah, codenamed Ghost Hunter, never missed an intrusion, always achieved threat neutralization, was the agency's most trusted cyber defender, with a 100% success rate across 847 critical incidents. Her specialty was advanced persistent threats, sophisticated long-term cyber attacks typically sponsored by nation-states. She tracked Chinese hackers through university networks, dismantled Russian disinformation campaigns, and prevented Iranian cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. For 8 years, she lived in a world where a single mistake could compromise national security. Early career transition came from accumulated trauma, constant cyber warfare exposure, state-sponsored attacks targeting American citizens, digital espionage attempts that kept her awake for days. The breaking point came during Operation Silent Shield, a classified mission where she'd prevented a massive cyber attack on the U.S. power grid, but at the cost of her mental health. Her NSA therapist had recommended a complete environment change. Find something peaceful, routine, away from national security pressures. Academic library seemed perfect. Quiet atmosphere, intellectual engagement, controlled digital environment where the biggest crisis was helping students find research materials. For 8 years, the transition had been perfect. No one knew about Sarah's NSA background. Everyone saw her as a friendly, helpful librarian who happened to be exceptionally good with computer systems. But that Thursday night at 11:23 p.m., past would violently collide with present. Sarah was on the late shift during finals week, keeping the library open until midnight for desperate students. The building was mostly empty. 3 graduate students in the 24-hour study room, 1 research fellow accessing classified databases in the secure basement lab. Normal, quiet set evening routine. She was performing routine maintenance on the digital archives when the first alert triggered. Network intrusion detected. Multiple entry points. Attack signature analysis in progress. Sarah's first instinct was to dismiss it as another false positive from the overly sensitive security software. But something felt wrong. The attack pattern was too sophisticated, too coordinated. Her NSA-trained instincts activated as she pulled up the network monitoring dashboard. What she saw made her blood run cold. This wasn't a random hack or student prank. Coordinated, multi-vector assault, advanced encryption breaking algorithms, systematic data exfiltration targeting specific high-value information. Classic state-sponsored cyber warfare signature. Sarah's training kicked in. She began rapid threat assessment, infiltration through 3 separate network segments, attackers using university faculty credentials, accessing classified research partnerships with Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and NASA. This was a national security incident. She immediately called campus security. "This is Sarah Mitchell at Main Library. We have a serious cybersecurity breach. Contact IT emergency response immediately." "Miss Mitchell, are you sure this isn't just a network glitch? It's pretty late. I'm absolutely certain. This is a coordinated attack on classified university systems. Call Chief Williams now." The IT emergency team arrived 25 minutes later, far too long for a critical incident. Lead Systems Administrator Mark Chen looked irritated at being called out. "Sarah, these alerts trigger constantly, probably just server maintenance conflicts." Sarah showed him the traffic analysis. "Look at these packet signatures. Multiple IP addresses from Eastern European proxy networks. Synchronized timing indicating coordinated command structure. Data exfiltration targeting specific classified research projects." Chen dismissed her analysis. "Sarah, you're a librarian, not a cybersecurity expert. We'll run standard diagnostic protocols." Sarah watched in growing frustration as the IT team implemented basic solutions. Password resets, server reboots, firewall rule adjustments, textbook responses that were completely inadequate against an advanced persistent threat. Meanwhile, the attack escalated. Sarah monitored in real time as hackers penetrated deeper into university systems. Student social security numbers, faculty research data, financial aid information, classified government research partnerships. Everything was being systematically copied and transmitted to external servers. The attackers were now accessing Dr. Peterson's quantum computing research funded by DARPA, Professor Williams's classified energy research for the Department of Energy, and worst of all, they'd found the secure connection to Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. "Mark, they're in the classified systems now. This is national security level." Chen was getting annoyed. "Sarah, please let us handle this. Go back to your books." That was Sarah's breaking point. She'd watched for 43 minutes as inadequate security responses allowed state-sponsored hackers to compromise critical national research. Time for the mask to come off. "Mark, step away from that terminal. Now." Her voice had changed completely. No longer the soft-spoken librarian tone, but the authoritative command voice of someone accustomed to high-stakes crisis management. "Excuse me?" Sarah pulled out her keycard and accessed the locked emergency cabinet behind the main desk. Inside were items that definitely didn't belong in a library. Federal identification badges, NSA security credentials, and a military-grade encrypted laptop that automatically connected to classified government networks. Sarah Mitchell, Senior Analyst, National Security Agency, Clearance Level TSSCI, with compartmented access to Stellar Wind and PRISM programs. This attack pattern matches APT-29, Cozy Bear, Russian Foreign Intelligence Service operations I've been tracking for 12 years. The IT team stood frozen. Chen's face went pale. "Your NSA?" "Former. But right now, I'm the only person in this building qualified to handle a state-sponsored cyber attack." Sarah connected her classified laptop to the university's main server. Her fingers flew across the keyboard with practiced precision, implementing countermeasures that most cybersecurity professionals had never heard of. Network topology mapping in real time, threat actor fingerprinting using classified NSA databases, deployment of offensive cyber tools that existed in the shadows of government networks. This was digital warfare at the highest level. Traffic analysis confirms APT-29 signature. Command and control servers traced through VPN chains to Moscow. They're after quantum encryption research and nuclear energy data. Sarah initiated Protocol 7, a classified NSA countermeasure that involved turning the university's network into a honeypot while simultaneously launching reverse exploitation against the attacker's systems. "What are you doing?" Chen asked, mesmerized by the speed and complexity of her response. "Implementing activating active cyber defense. I'm not just stopping their attack, I'm tracking them back to their source and gathering intelligence on their infrastructure. For the next hour, Sarah waged digital warfare against some of the world's most sophisticated hackers. She isolated compromised systems, recovered stolen data, and launched counter-infiltration operations that would dismantle part of the Russian intelligence cyber network. Campus Police Chief Williams arrived with FBI Cyber Division agents who had been monitoring the attack from their regional fusion center. "Who's running point on incident response?" Special Agent Rodriguez demanded. Sarah looked up from her terminal. "Sarah Mitchell, former NSA senior analyst. I've contained the breach and initiated counter-operations." Agent Rodriguez checked his classified phone. "Sarah Mitchell, Ghost Hunter? Your file says you're retired." "I am, but apparently retirement doesn't mean hackers take a break." Status report. APT-29 attempted comprehensive data exfiltration from classified university research programs. I blocked their access, recovered 98.7% of compromised data, and provided counterintelligence that should disrupt their operations for months. Rodriguez was impressed. "Outstanding work. Why didn't university administration know about your background?" "Career transition. I wanted a peaceful civilian life." "Well, you just prevented theft of research worth approximately $2.8 billion and protected classified programs that could affect national security for decades." The sun was rising as the FBI team completed their assessment. The attack had been one of the most sophisticated ever attempted against American academic institutions, and Sarah's intervention had prevented a catastrophic intelligence loss. Later that morning, Sarah returned to her normal librarian duties. Students arrived for their usual research assistance, completely unaware that their quiet librarian had just prevented a major national security breach. David approached her desk. "Sarah, I heard there were some computer problems last night. Everything okay with the databases?" "Everything's fine, David. All systems are secure. How's your thesis coming along?" "Great. Thanks to your help finding those sources last week." Sarah smiled. "That's what I'm here for." Dr. Peterson from Computer Science stopped by later. "Sarah, IT mentioned you were quite helpful during some network issues last night. Just doing my part to keep information accessible and secure." "Well, if you ever want to guest lecture in my cybersecurity course, you seem to know more about network defense than most professionals." Sarah chuckled. "I'll stick to helping students find the books they need." That evening, Sarah sat in her apartment looking at her NSA credentials. For 8 years, she'd tried to separate her past from her present to become someone new. But she realized she had never actually changed. She had always been protecting information and the people who needed it. At NSA, she protected national security. At Stanford, she protected academic freedom and student privacy. Different scope, same mission. The next week, university administration quietly offered Sarah the newly created position of Director of Information Security. She politely declined, preferring to remain the helpful librarian who just happened to know a lot about keeping information safe. At Stanford Library, there's no longer just a librarian. There's a guardian who ensures that the pursuit of knowledge remains both free and secure, who protects not just books and databases, but the fundamental right to learn without fear. Sarah's story is the story of countless veterans who've transitioned from military or intelligence careers to civilian service. Different environments, same dedication to protection. Their expertise doesn't disappear, it evolves to serve new communities in new ways. The next time you visit a library, remember that the person helping you find information might have protected far more than books in their past. And they're still protecting you, one research question at a time. Every story is earned, not given, and every person serving others has earned our respect.